So Geno Auriemma has moved the goalposts for Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Hit the notification bell when you do, so you get notified of our next video and make Rob happy.
Mm-hmm.
So, we predicted this in the beginning of the women's college basketball season, that if Paige Beckers does not win a national championship, or if it looks like she's not going to, as in this case, they're probably the fourth or fifth best team most likely to win a championship right now after Notre Dame, UCLA, and South Carolina. In the beginning of the year, it looked like they might be the second after South Carolina. We talked about this because people have said Caitlin Clark can't be the GOAT, or even considered one of the GOATs, according to Brianna Stewart, because she didn't win a championship. And all sorts of people said that. Non-Caitlin Clark fans said that. Right. Even people not from Connecticut, like Jay Williams and things like that, who was shot down. But we predicted that if Paige doesn't win a national championship, they will move the goalposts and say, hey, you don't have to win a national championship to be a great player or to be one of the GOATs or the GOAT. So Geno just came out and said the idea that you have to win a national championship or several national championships to be a generational or amazing type player, well, that's just not fair to use that gauge to rank them. Because why? Because he's afraid Paige isn't going to win a championship this year. And then he said, my thought process is how many Final Fours would we have been to, or how many championship games, or how we have done without her? Which is exactly what everybody was saying that are Caitlin Clark fans. Where would that Iowa team have been without her? Which probably below 500 without her. And yet they made it to 2 national finals. And I don't think any other player could have done that. And that's why I consider
right, Mark. It was, yeah, he was, I mean, if you listen to the interview, when they were asking him about Paige, but if you just came in and wouldn't know who he was talking about, you would think he's talking about Caitlin Clark, because he mentioned all the things that we said. He says, "Oh well, you know,
right.
You don't have to win championships to really be called a generational player. You don't have to really be, with all these different things." And then, like you said at the end, where he says, like, "Well, without her on the team, would we have made, the Final Fours and things like that?" And I'm like, that sounds. If you didn't hear what they were asking, or what player they were asking about, you would think he was talking about Caitlin Clark.
Right. And just so you know, we just a shout out to Ken Swift, who does a great job on X, and he covers the WNBA, but he posts a lot of stuff about Caitlin Clark, and he always makes a lot of good arguments and good posts. And he said that. In fact, I'll give you the exact quote that he said. It's insane how they just change the narrative for certain players. Anyone who says that Caitlin Clark is judged on the same playing field is a flat out liar. And then he posts this about Geno, and he says, Geno was talking about Paige, but deep down he was thinking about Caitlin.
Right.
Exactly what's going on here. And we've all said that there's different guidelines for Caitlin Clark by non-Caitlin Clark fans, because they're so jealous and envious of her, they don't want to give her the credit that she deserves. And I've said all along that you're being dishonest if you think you have to win a national championship for a college athlete in a team sport to be considered the GOAT. Now, in NBA and as a quarterback in the NFL, player has a long career, absolutely, that's a guideline that you can use to rank their greatness. That doesn't mean they're still not great, but in order to be the GOAT, you're not going to get there by most people's standards anyways. Dan Marino's not going to be considered the GOAT in the NFL, and Charles Barkley is not considered the GOAT in basketball. He's never won a championship. Other players who've never won championships aren't going to get to the number one spot. They're still considered great players, and I agree with that. Go ahead, Rob.
Right. Well, I mean, the amazing thing is, like I said, Mark, I was at work and I asked these young men, and I just mentioned her name, Caitlin Clark. And these are people who don't even watch women's sports, and one like refuses to watch women's soccer, whatever. And I mentioned Caitlin Clark's name. Like, oh yeah, I know about her. And they just said straight out. I said, you know about her? He goes, yeah, well, yeah.
At this point, you'd have to totally not follow sports at all to not know who Caitlin Clark is. You'd have to have zero interest in sports to not know who Caitlin Clark is, because she's the most popular athlete in the country right now, and she's all over the news constantly. So, but I think that this is what I've been saying all along. Again, this is just for college athlete, WNBA and NBA. I'll include WNBA, obviously, because NBA and WNBA, I think you'd have the same criteria for evaluating a GOAT. They have long careers, things of that nature. It's basketball. You can have more of an influence on the game because it's only 5 people playing as opposed to 9 or 11 or anything like that. So I think that's fair. WNBA, NBA, and quarterbacks in football. Other than that, the amount that emphasis that you put on for GOAT criteria and winning a championship is relatively small. That's my point. And I think most people agree with that. But
he's been backpedaling since Caitlin Clark was kicking butt in the WNBA, all the stuff that he said about the class that came in, the rookie class that came in wasn't as good. And he was going on about when they asked about her. Yeah. But he seems to be backpedaling on a lot of things about Caitlin Clark, and then about the requirements of being so-called, a GOAT or a generational player now.
Yeah, he never, to be fair to Geno, he never said that Caitlin Clark has to win a championship to be considered the GOAT, but he hinted at it by talking about his great players and all the championships they won. So to be fair, he's never said that. Other people said it, but my objection to him is he didn't come out and say that about Caitlin Clark last year. When people were saying that, he didn't come out and say, hey, you know what, you guys give Caitlin Clark a break. She didn't go to a team with a bunch of All-Americans and a bunch of 5-star recruits, and yet she went to the finals 2 years in a row. She could still be considered one of the GOATs, even though she didn't win a championship. He didn't say that last year about Caitlin Clark.
Right, and if you took her off, and he didn't say if you took her off the team, would they have made the finals? He didn't say that. He didn't
say that. And now he's talking about generational player. And I think he's saying that because, Paige won Player of the Year as a freshman. She was the first player ever to do that. Even Breanna Stewart didn't. In fact, Breanna Stewart didn't even make All-American her first year. But she won 3 Player of the Year awards in a row. So I think he thought she was going to be a generational player, or he still thinks of her as a generational player, that maybe the injuries prevented her from being that. But Caitlin Clark turned out to be the generational player. So it's interesting that he used that term generational player talking about Paige. Because that's what people are saying about Caitlin Clark right now. And I think she is the only generational player as of right now until someone proves otherwise. I know people want to say that Juju Watkins is a generational player. I think it's a little early for that. She hasn't even won Player of the Year yet. Okay. That's my objection to people. Potential wise, yes, she could be she will be an all-time great unless she has several major injuries. But she's not a generational player yet. She has to win a couple, at least Player of the Years in college before she considered Player of the Year. She's not even the best sophomore in college basketball this year. Right now, at the end of the year, it could be different. Right now, Hannah Hidalgo looks like the best player in college basketball. Of course, in the WNBA, it will be different because of the 8-inch difference in height between the two of them. I think Juju Watkins will long-term be the better player, but she's not right now. So I can't call her a generational player. She can't even win, be the best sophomore and not Player of the Year.
Right. And then, like I said, there's other players, freshman Sarah Strong that plays for Geno. Mark, I mean, when they say generational, I mean, are they breaking it down like with generations, or are they breaking it down 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, we talked about this, and some people are really specific about generational and, whether they really change the sport or not. There's no exact definition. So it's whatever your definition is, but there's not a generational player every year. That's silly. It has to be, if there's a generational player more than once every 5 years, and that's your term, you're using the term too much. It doesn't have to be necessarily every 20 or 25 years, and it doesn't have to be completely change the sport or not. But there has to be a really truly great player, like the best player of the decade coming out or something like that. It's got to be something. They changed the sport.
Yeah, it has to be over at least 10 years. I mean, it has to be at least over 10 years.
Yeah, it's got to be there. That's why all these people are saying there's Caitlin Clark. She's a generational player. Now, everybody can't be a generational player after that.
Right.
That's why I'm saying
Right.
let's chill on the Juju Watkins things. It's only been a year since Caitlin Clark's been out, and you already say there's another generational player. Let's
Right.
chill on that. And, you know, like I said, Sarah Strong, she might be, but let's chill on that. She hasn't won player of the year, and she's only a freshman halfway through her freshman year. You know, she looks like a great all-around player.
Seems like that term's going to be, again, thrown around so easily, but like they don't mention when they, what do you mean by generational? Every 2 or 3 years? Just say it that way. This, you know, but generational is really, you know, you have to.
Like I said, yeah, there's no exact definition. So here's some, I want to go over some comments that were said after this because they're pretty predictable. Most of them were Caitlin Clark fans. So the first person says, so what I'm hearing is that he admits CC is the GOAT. And the other person said, you heard correctly. Basically describes CC. 2019, Paige was billed as the next bringer to UConn and the future of women's basketball. They set her up to be judged against an unrealistic standard, and now they are trying to walk it back. Titles are a team achievement. Nobody wins one by themselves.
Except for Diana Taurasi.
don't tell that to Diana Taurasi or non-Caitlin Clark fans because they think, you know, you just win championships by yourself. Again, I don't need to say the obvious. If Caitlin Clark had gone to South Carolina or UConn, or even LSU maybe, or even Notre Dame, if she had gone to and played with more 5-star recruits, she would have won multiple national championships. It wouldn't make her any better player. So that's, people don't, you know, they don't want to admit that part. They don't want to admit that nobody else could have dragged those teams that she dragged to the finals. She had one 4-star recruit, no 5-star recruits, and the rest of the recruits were all 3- and 2-star recruits throughout her entire 4-year career there. And the one person said, did he really say that Paige didn't play with many All-American caliber players at the end? He said All-American players. Aaliyah Edwards was high in the draft this year.
Seems like almost he's the players that he gets to recruits, the number one, he usually gets the number 1 or number 2 recruits. He's saying that, well, these people aren't that good. It's kind of like saying that his players, these players aren't that good. Like, I'd be like, wait a minute. You recruited me. I was number. What are you talking about? So I'm nothing. I would be kind of like what, dude? Really?
And now he finds Paige in the same predicament as CC and needs to backtrack so that his prodigy gets the recognition he deserves without a natty. I think the person meant she deserves without a natty, but that's what they wrote.
Right.
It's funny how when it comes to Paige, everyone becomes reasonable again. Now that might be my favorite comment.
Yeah.
That might be my favorite comment of all.
Yeah.
It's funny how when it comes to Paige, everybody becomes reasonable again. Because it wasn't reasonable to say you have to win a title to be the GOAT in college basketball. Yes, NBA, WNBA, quarterback, and football. But it's not reasonable for a college athlete. It's a team sport. They have a short career. They could have chosen to go to blue chips college or not chosen to go to a blue chip college. Now maintain that's the correct standard. You can have your own standard, but I don't agree with you.
Right.
I wasn't ready for the narrative to change this quick. I was. I thought it was going to come out after her career was over. I didn't think it was going to come out now. Next year, rookie standards are going to change as well, I bet.
Oh, of course.
From Geno, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, for the comments that he made before, Rob.
Right. Yeah, of course it's going to change. This is the best recruiting class ever.
Everything he says just confirms Caitlin is the great collegiate player ever. We all know it, and haters are going to hate it, and they try to spin it. I read it how it was written. He meant greatest instead of great. He's only saying they are not winning this year, and Paige will enter the draft without a chip. But yeah, I agree that CC does fit with his speech.
Yeah, totally. Like I said, if you didn't hear the question they were asking about Paige, you would think they were asking about Caitlin Clark.
As her fans will ever get. Another person said goalpost being moved, I see. The next comment's interesting. It sounded so forced. He truly didn't want to say all that. Right, because he didn't say it about Caitlin Clark. That's why he didn't want to say it.
Right.
This is as close to a correction as you're going to get from Geno. But to be fair, Geno never said you had to be. He just hinted at it that you had to be. And their UConn players and the UConn Mafia all said you have to win a championship to be the GOAT. I never heard him specifically say that exact thing, though.
Right. All right.
Someone else said, but this only applies to UConn players, right? Funny how the big game is likely to end up UCLA versus Notre Dame or South Carolina, and now a natty doesn't make or break a generational player. All right. Well, anyways, I thought that was interesting that he came out with this. I knew it would come out if Paige didn't win a championship, or it looked like she wasn't going to win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not the only one that's going to say this. Other UConn fans or people that went to UConn are going to suddenly change. I can't wait to see what Brianna Stewart, Donna Taurasi, and Sue Bird say about their analysis about Paige when she graduates, if she doesn't win Player of the Year and doesn't win, which it doesn't look like she's going to, and doesn't win a championship this year. Let's say she doesn't get either of those accolades. How are they going to rake her career?
Well, Mark, who knows? Who knows? She might stay another year.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Even if she'd gotten injured, I think she would have come out.
Yeah.
If she got seriously injured, I think she would have come out. I think she realizes at this point she has to move forward because of her age and everything like that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens, Rob. But I was expecting this. Let's just say we were right. Yeah. And I maintain you can have your own criteria. There's every once in a while you get a comment in our videos. Oh, you got to have it without a chip. You can't be the GOAT. Well, fine. That's your ranking for a college player. It's not mine. It's not what I think people who really understand championships and individual players are.
Reasonable, like that one comment was. Reasonable.
Yeah, now people are being reasonable again. Anyways, that's my standard. I don't care what other people's standards are. I don't think you have to win a title. And I think Caitlin Clark proves that. And it's more stuff is going to come out like this. And next year when they start rating the rookies, that's an interesting concept. We'll see how they rate Paige. And we'll see how she gets treated. We'll see if she gets double teamed and triple teamed like the generational player she supposedly is. Because someone else I can't remember what her name was, but someone else was double teamed and triple teamed, even though she was just average.
Skips my mind, Mark.
I don't know her name either, Rob. She might have played for the Fever. I can't remember.
Right. I can't help you. Sorry.
Can't help me with that name? All right.
No.
Someone else, if you know the name below who was double teamed and triple teamed more than any player in WNBA history this year, even though she was only an average player, let us know what her name is because we can't think of it right now.
Yeah, not off the top of my head. Our balls.
You like this video? Hit the top of Rob's head. If you like this video, hit the like button.
Get me going. Get me going here.
And share with your family and friends. And if you like Rob, subscribe to our channel. If you like Caitlin Clark, subscribe to our channel. If you think Geno is full of crap, subscribe to our channel. Just subscribe. And when you do, hit the notification bell. When you do, so get notified of our next video. And you can discuss this on our live show. That is Monday, except for major holidays, 6 to 8 Eastern time. And if you want to donate to this channel, you can with super chats down below and super thanks. And there's a link to PayPal. And we'll see you in the next video.
Sayonara.